Am I the asshole for allowing my kids to question Mill and embarrass her? Mill has almost no relationship with me or my children because she chooses not to speak English and we don't know how to speak Arabic. I mean, it is her choice, but choices do have consequences. My husband and I did discuss if our kids should learn Arabic, but he didn't see much practical need and his Arabic is very basic. To be clear, Mill can speak English but doesn't like to. We still hang out as a family but she doesn't directly talk to us. Her husband and stepkids will speak to us in English and my husband has gotten close to the family she married into. Mill doesn't have much of a reason for this except she doesn't want to. Recently Mill was talking to her housekeeper in perfect English and my kids were shocked because they were under the impression that Mill couldn't speak English. My 9-year-old son was like, "Wait, you speak English?" Mill said she can but dislikes it and chooses not to in her personal life. My 11-year-old daughter asked why my husband can't speak much Arabic and how did that work when he was growing up. I saw Mill freeze and look panicked. The truth is she just didn't interact with him much. She tried to make some excuse about he went to school in the US. My daughter was like, "Yeah, but how did you talk at home?" Mill said they managed and my kids were both confused and asking how their dad didn't speak Arabic if that is all she speaks in the house. Mill just continued to stare blankly until her husband came in. She said something to him in Arabic and he diffused the situation. Later Mil's husband told me that I should have shut that down and I made her uncomfortable. I just kind of shrugged it off, but he insisted that I was an asshole and I enjoyed my kids, judging her. The truth is my husband didn't learn Arabic because he and Mill just didn't interact. They lived in the same house until he was a teen, but she really didn't speak to him. Not the asshole. The kids were asking legitimate questions. If she felt judged, that's on her. Not the asshole. People like to feel in charge of their own choices right up until the moment they have to face the true consequences. Your Mill was expecting you to provide emotional cover for the uncomfortable truth that she doesn't have a relationship with her son due to language barriers. As you did not create that situation, I don't see why you are responsible for diffusing it. That being said, it might seem petty if you seem like you are allowing that conversation to be drawn out to increase the Mil's visible discomfort. For example, after the kids made their blunt observation known, it might have been better to change the topic before they repeatedly questioned the bizarre but true realization they came upon. Not the asshole. You've got sharp kids, op. Not the asshole. I am just going to guess that your Mill just happens to not like, care for you or your children, or any children, even her own apparently, and is using this language barrier as an excuse to cover that. Not the asshole. If she's having a hard time feeling comfortable with her choices, she can make different choices. Your children's questions were very reasonable, and it's actually really nice to me that you gave her the space to respond how she would choose. You didn't speak for her. That's the best one could hope for. Not the asshole. Those kids had no idea that she even spoke English, and their dad's Arabic is basic because she never really spoke to him? She's out of her mind and so is hubby for thinking the same, like, damn. Not the asshole. She's the one who revealed that she can speak English, but chooses not to. That preference was apparently more important than her son or grandchildren. Her choice, I guess, but she needs to own it. I do wonder if she was given no choice in marriage or children, and this is perhaps her way of protesting. At first, I was leaning towards, but, the more I read, the more I sympathized with you, the kids, and your husband. I cannot imagine how your husband felt growing up. How lonely it must have been to have a virtually non-existent mother. That same energy is now in grandmotherly form. Your kids were absolutely right to question her. I'm sure in school they hear of kids having the loving grandma. The one who dotes on her grandkids. Meanwhile theirs refuses to even communicate. That's not healthy. I think GMA has some mental health issues she needs resolved. Again, not the asshole. Am I the asshole for not letting my Sil wear my wedding dress? Throwaway because my husband and some other family know my normal Reddit. My 28F husband, 30M, have been married for almost 6 years now. At the time of our engagement, neither of us had much money, so there was no way I could have afforded the wedding dress that I wanted to wear. Thankfully for me, my mother is something of a seamstress, and offered to help me make my dream dress. We spent over a year finding the pattern, picking the fabrics, and making my beautiful wedding dress completely from scratch. It's the first big project I've ever sewn, so I'm quite proud of it. Making it also brought me much closer to my mother, as the whole project was sort of a bonding experience. It also holds a lot of additional sentimental value as my dad passed away while we were making it, So I sewed a heart-shaped cutout of one of his shirts into the lining of the dress in order to keep him with me on my big day. This dress not only brought me closer to my husband, but my family too. It means so much to me. My Sil, F23, just got engaged recently, and is in a similar situation with her wedding. She just got out of college and started work as a teacher. Between her loans and a relatively low salary, she doesn't have very much money to pay for her wedding. Dress shopping has been a bit stressful for her, as all the dresses that fit her taste are just so far out of her budget. This all leads up to Tuesday morning, when she called up my husband and asked if I would be willing to let her borrow my dress. She mentioned that it could be her, something borrowed. My husband says that he would have to ask me first, because it wasn't his to loan out. His sister told him that it wouldn't be a problem and I'd barely miss it as it was just sitting in a box anyway. He still said he would have to ask me and forgot about it. He finished his workday and picked me up from my job and we came home to his little sister trying on my wedding dress and his mom clipping it in the back to fit her better. Seeing somebody else in my dress totally blindsided me. I was stunned and asked what they were doing, and my mill said that they were planning alterations since Sil is significantly smaller than me. I told them that there is no way I would be loaning my dress out to anyone. It not only represents my love to my husband, but the bond with some of my family as well. This escalated into an argument that ended in my mill calling me a selfish bitch and leaving with Sil. My husband thankfully grabbed the dress during the argument so they didn't grab it when they left. I was really upset, but thought about it after I had some time to calm down. I don't have any uses for my dress, and I do love my Sil. I feel as if I maybe overreacted and shut them down too quickly. Am I the asshole? Too long did not read. My Sil wants to borrow my homemade wedding dress and tried it on without my knowledge. I freaked and said no. Edit. By clipping, I meant using binder clips to secure excess fabric. They didn't actually damage my dress. Not the asshole. What the fuck? I might see their point of view in asking if you and she were the exact same size, but expecting to make alterations? Hell fucking no. You might want to make arrangements for that to be secured until after the wedding. Edit. I just checked with my wife, who does this professionally. Alterations to a wedding dress would have to be permanent. You could not make temporary alterations for someone significantly and have it fit right for them. They aren't just borrowing it and giving it back as is, they want to alter it. It has sentimental value. Not the asshole, and if they hadn't been such jerks and you were so inclined, maybe you guys could have a bonding moment sewing her dress. But F them. Also, do they have keys? Get those back. Bring that dress to your mom's or a friend's because clearly those two have zero boundaries. Not the asshole. The amount of entitlement in them is on another level. Also, why do they have keys to your home? Not the asshole at all. We came home to his little sister trying on my wedding dress and his mom clipping it in the back to fit her better. Seeing somebody else in my dress totally blindsided me. I was stunned and asked what they were doing, and my mill said that they were planning alterations. The total entitlement here is astounding. I am pissed and it is not even my dress. Look, I am sorry that your Sil is in a bad way financially. However, her doing this, after asking your husband instead of you about borrowing the dress and then being so dismissive with, it wouldn't be a problem and I'd barely miss it as it was just sitting in a box anyway, forfeited any goodwill to loan the dress. I swear, if you let her borrow this, after I die, I will haunt you. You are so far from the asshole it isn't even funny. Your husband told your Sil to wait until he spoke to you and instead she completely disrespected that, showed up to your house with her mother, and was ready to walk out with your dress and alter it. Your Sil and Mill are being entitled, selfish jerks. It's your dress and it's very very special to you. If she's tight on money, she can go to a consignment shop or buy a sample dress. Not the asshole. They couldn't wait a single day for an answer? Then they really don't care about your answer. It's why she asked your husband instead of you. 1000% not the asshole, especially after what they did. There are bridal consignment stores, really inexpensive dresses online, etc. Your dress is not her only option. Not the asshole. My mom is a seamstress and made my first cotillion dress. The first one is the most special, and my prom dress. When I eventually get married she will also make my wedding dress. The only people I could let borrow the dresses would be my nieces, not planning on having kids of my own. I couldn't imagine how sentimental your dress is since you helped make it and sewed a piece of your father's shirt into it. And to walk in on someone cutting it. Take away the spare keys from them. Am I the asshole for buying my sister a dress for my wedding? My sister is non-binary, but does prefer term sister over sibling, and is my maid of honor. They often don't mind wearing feminine clothes, so I asked if they would be okay with wearing a dress like the bridesmaids. They said they weren't sure how they would feel and they'd let me know later on. However, we had a deadline to order the dresses, so I went ahead and ordered them one. I also have a suit for them, because while I'd rather they wear a dress to match, I don't want them to be uncomfortable at all, which I made clear to them. Apparently this was the wrong move. They're completely pissed, as are my parents and brother. They're telling me I shouldn't have ordered either and should have let my sister decide closer to the wedding and get their own stuff, even though that means they likely wouldn't have the matching outfit for whichever they chose. I don't understand why it was so wrong, since they now have a suit and a dress ready and can pick day of, but they are now saying they aren't sure they even want to be there, since I'm making decisions for them and all that. Am I the asshole? Edit. We did tell them way in advance about the deadline and reminded them multiple times, and we also have told them they can mix and match parts of the outfits if they want to. One more edit. Fiancé and I are lesbians, as are many of our friends. There will be a couple other non-male people in suits as well, so I don't think the issue is being assigned to a certain gender with one or the other. And what they wear won't dictate where they stand either, as they'll be next to me either way. Last edit. This post is not a discussion about pronouns. They, them has never been exclusively plural. If you have an issue, please, just scroll past. We don't want transphobia here. You are using appropriate terminology, being inclusive, and haven't said, no dress no go, so I don't understand what the issue is here. You're not the asshole, but they might be. Not the asshole. It looks to me like the only decision you made for them is that they should be wearing clothes. Not the asshole. The options are they wear a dress to match the wedding party or a suit to match the wedding party. You bought both so they could choose. Wanting to wait to decide closer to the wedding is fine. They have both of the options available. I have no idea why anyone would be mad about this unless it's not an issue of gender expression and instead an issue of teenagery main character. I don't understand that this isn't about me behavior. A sibling not wanting to wear what their sister picked out and not understanding dress codes, event decorum. Which is then being enabled by parents who are trying to be supportive of their gender non-conforming child and aren't sure how to separate the issues and are worried about being transphobic. Og. You didn't choose. You had a deadline and they didn't respond by such time. You were kind enough to make sure they had options. Not sure why they think it is appropriate to wait until right before the wedding to order the desired clothing. Are they unfamiliar with how this all works? Not the asshole. Sounds like you were being kind. They had a choice to make, knew the deadline, don't make a choice. You then bend over backwards and make sure they still have a choice? What if you didn't get a dress that matched? Would they have complained they were not matching? Not the asshole. Sounds like your family just love to throw up drama when there is none. I can usually see some assholeness in every post, but I have to say I'm willing to give you a clean bill of health. Not the asshole. Your family, however, yikes. Not the asshole because you provided both clothing options, and only got the dress when you did because of the deadline. NB sibling is being a bit of an asshole for turning this into their show, threatening to not come at all because they were provided a choice of a matching dress or a suit, instead of just picking one and going with it. Their rationale, that you are making decisions for them, doesn't really hold up when you have given them options. Sorry. Not the asshole. You very generously offered and paid for two options for them. Typically bridesmaids pay for their own outfit, so this seems extra nice to me. Also with supply chain, COVID issues, everything wedding related takes a while to just come in. Not even mentioning if something needs to be altered to fit that'd take additional time. Deadlines exist and you did your best. Am I the asshole for naming my child behind my wife's back? So my wife and I, 27F and 29M, recently had a baby. A sweet baby girl, an absolute ball of joy. We started discussing names a few months before she was born, but we kept getting into arguments because we just couldn't come to an agreement. I'm a traditional man. I like traditional names with a rich history and profound meaning. My wife on the other hand wants to name our child something unique, something that literally no one else on earth will think of. Some of her suggestions include Hoaheye, Joji, Yaba, and Buza. Anyone can see that these names are absolutely ridiculous, and she will probably never land a respectable job. By the way, we're both Caucasian, so these aren't cultural names or anything. I suggested some names like Amelia, Ella, and Sophia, but she said that those were too common. We put off the topic of names for a while, but but naturally after she was born, we starting talking about it again. She insisted on the name Buza, but I absolutely refused. I told her no one will take her seriously with a name like that and that she was just pursuing the novelty of unique name without thinking about what actually works for her. I saw that she was completely set on the name that she chose and there was no way I could convince her otherwise. So the next morning I went by myself to register our daughter's name because I was worried my wife would go and do it first. I chose a really pretty name for her that wasn't too old-fashioned and I thought my wife would be okay with it. But when I got home and told her, she was furious with me. She said I was an awe, but I think she'd be the bigger asshole for giving our daughter a name that could ruin her life. Everyone sucks here. However, if your wife was 100% going to go with Buza and was simply not going to back down no matter what you said, I think you made the right decision. That's not how naming a baby happens. Edit. Boy, Reddit really can't let you be wrong in peace, huh? I get it, this happens in some places. If those truly were the names your wife wanted, I agree that they are terrible and your wife wants attention. Having said that, you are a major asshole for going behind her back. You guys should have come to an agreement well in advance, especially if you were not a fan of any of her name suggestions in the first place. Not the asshole for saving your daughter from being called Buza. However, I don't think your wife would agree with me. I'm dying of curiosity though, is there any way you would share what you chose for your child's name? Y'all need to have a serious conversation about how you're going to resolve disagreements about parenting moving forward. Because refusal to compromise and one parent hijacking the decision behind the other parent's back is going to just create bigger problems for you as parents and as a married couple. Buza is the name of a traditional hand-to-hand fight in Russian folklore. Just saying. Everyone sucks here. You guys will be divorced within the year. You can't act this way and treat each other like this. Not the asshole. As someone with a ridiculous name IRL, acronym of my relatives' names, I totally respect what you did. Haven't faced an issue with respect to jobs, but surely was a pain point all my teenage life as a kid is hard. Don't be an asshole and make it harder with a ridiculous name everyone makes fun of.